Why should a man have to earn the opportunity to please you?
Because women get to decide everything in other species, so why not human species?
But then if that's true, then why do we complain about being in a male-dominated patriarchy where men control women?
Because
Welcome, brothers. In today's video, I want to show you how the modern woman often blames men for her decisions, disguising it with a narrative of oppression under patriarchy. As you all know, anything unfortunate that happens to a woman is often attributed to a man, sometimes even one who is unaware of her existence. But simply because he is a man, he is deemed responsible. Before we continue, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and leave us a comment. Brothers, the super chat is now active. So if you want to contribute to this project, your support would mean a lot to us. Without further ado, let's get started.
Have you heard that Tom got promoted? Can you believe this? He's handsome but not smart. I wonder who he slept with to get this position. Yeah, Chad is hot, but he's a little slut. You know how many women he slept with? I think like 3. Here, young man, what are you wearing? These shorts are too short. You know how the girls are at school? They have to focus on learning and not be distracted by your skin showing off. Please go change. This is your car. Isn't that a little bit too big for a man like you? Do you know how to drive this? Okay, let me put my seatbelt on just in case. Do you know how to park with this? Or should I do it? Let me do it. What are you doing? You're playing like a boy. Grow some pussy.
It is very common nowadays to see a woman constantly criticizing everything a man does. This woman claims that if women were to act like men, they would engage in certain behaviors. However, those who have worked for large corporations where the majority are women know very well that a toxic work environment is more prevalent when there is a significant number of women. They are the ones who criticize each other the most, especially when a colleague achieves a promotion or gets close to a boss. The first thing they think is that she must be sleeping with him. You rarely see men criticizing or undermining the achievements of a woman because men generally don't care. Women tend to be very superficial when trying to believe that this is how a man behaves. They don't try to emulate us in decision-making, high-risk jobs, or leadership roles. Instead, they focus on highlighting all the negative aspects of men when many of them live and survive thanks to the existence of men.
So Matt Getz at his little pro-life rally wants to turn around and say that the women who are most concerned about abortion are the ones that can never get pregnant because they are disgusting. So let me explain why this is the most egregious form of hyper-misogyny. But first off, here go the clip.
The people are just disgusting. Like, why is it that the women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions? Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb.
When you say that you shouldn't be concerned about your rights because nobody wants to have sex with you anyway, what you're saying is essentially that you are not entitled to rights unless you've earned that right through your servitude to the patriarchy. And how do women serve the patriarchy? By appealing to a man's sexual appetites. For them, all human rights are a birthright. Constitutional rights are a birthright. They do not have to do anything to earn those rights. But for people who are not within that demographic, which is women, BIPOC, LGBTQ, those rights have to be earned through servitude. Let's not forget that in the 1857 Dred Scott decision, the Supreme Court decided that black people were not citizens and therefore not entitled to the protections of the Constitution. What the Supreme Court said there is that white men were born with the right to be protected by the Constitution, but black people were not, and if they were, they had to earn it. This form of misogyny is another permutation of having to earn the right that cis-het white men are born into. So if you are looking for the subtext of that message, the subtext is, I'm entitled to those rights. You, if you want to be entitled to those rights, you need to fit the criteria that makes you eligible for those rights. You need to prove your humanity, and your humanity is proved by your servitude to the patriarchy. And if you do not serve the patriarchy by being an attractive woman or anything else that I deem worthy of approval, you are delegitimized and you are dehumanized and you are not worthy of the protections of the Constitution. And in that way, this is how they tell you that you are not human.
This woman doesn't know what she's talking about. She wants to link two unrelated topics. First, constitutional rights, a right every human being should have in a society, an issue that was resolved over 50 years ago. However, the right to take a human life is not the same. This woman claims it's misogyny by the patriarchy because if you don't serve, you don't have the right. But she didn't engage in the man's argument. She just sought an absurd law to compare. The reality is that many women in the colorful hair movement marches aren't there for equality. Many aren't there to support these causes. Some go to connect with other women, some out of hatred for men for not finding a partner. Others attend due to trauma against men and become radicalized in attacking them. Some never achieve their dream of marriage, and those left after divorce are lonely and bitter. The majority of women who have contact with men in their lives don't belong to this movement or don't identify with it because they have male influences. Mothers of sons, women with many male friends, women with brothers, those raised by protective fathers, and happily married women aren't part of this movement. You only see women who feel they lack options, those who want to become famous by criticizing something, and those who profit from it. In the end, brothers, unless it endangers their own lives, no one should have the right to take another life.
Weaponized incompetence can look like this. Hey honey, I'm really stressed at work and I'm really overwhelmed this week and I was wondering if you could make dinner tonight. Yeah, no problem. I'll pick up Taco Bell. I'm trying to eat healthy and Taco Bell makes me feel like really gross, so I'll just whip something up. Don't worry about it. Do you mind doing a couple loads of laundry? Sure, but I never know how to do your laundry right. You're really picky about it. Yeah, just my workout stuff needs to hang to dry. I don't know what your workout stuff is. Well, every garment has washing instructions inside of it. On the label, it'll say do not tumble dry. It's fine. I'll just do it. Hey, the house is really messy and it's kind of stressing me out and I work from home, so my environment's really important to me. Could you help out? Oh, babe, I just don't notice stuff like that. You have to tell me what to do.
Brothers, women don't want to understand that we have differences between us. Studies show that men are more focused on their goals, while women excel in tasks like household chores. No one disputes that. However, when a man asks a woman how he can help, he seeks a direct solution and gets upset. It's not assistance they want. They want the man to do things their way. For instance, when a woman says, clean the house, she may see that the man did clean it but gets upset because he didn't start or do it the way she would. She doesn't care if the house is clean. She only cares that he didn't do it as she instructed. So, do you want help? Or do you just want to boss the man around? She calls it armed incompetence. But if this man were to wash his clothes without knowing how she likes it, he might find them clean, but she'll think they're poorly washed. What do you think will happen? She'll blame him for never helping. There was a video where, in the early days of marriage, a man told his wife to do all the household chores while he recorded everything as a tutorial. He even had pictures of how he organized the pantry. When she asked for help, he would watch the specific task in the video to avoid problems. Teamwork, I'd call it. But many, as I mentioned earlier, won't buy into this because they want something to complain about.
Not even get someone to want to commit to them. And I'm not gonna lie, it really makes me feel terrible about myself. I cannot help but wonder if there is something wrong with me, genuinely.
No, please God, I hope you see this. Okay. The one thing that I will never regret, and I don't really think I'm gonna regret most things because I learn from everything. The one thing I will never regret, and I'm the most grateful for, is that I did not date a man until I was 36. I didn't even go on my first date until I was 32. I promise you, the women you are jealous of are not having as good of a time as you think they are. A lot of them are being hijacked into some dude's life, like fucking Ariel, and they lose themselves. Either because of former childhood trauma or way too much, indoctrination into patriarchy, or even if they're coming from the most confident, healed place. It is so hard to meet a man who is not gonna fucking center himself, because that's what men do under patriarchy. So a lot of women who are dating, they're avoiding themselves. Not always, or they're losing themselves. So let me tell you what I did, and I'm so proud of myself. I don't even think it was intentional. I don't know. Men didn't ask me out, but I was scared of them because I'd seen so many women lose themselves as soon as a man entered their life.
Brothers, we just witnessed the Trojan horse of feminism. This woman spends her time criticizing men for everything, claiming that even if you have a healthy place, it's still under the patriarchy. In other words, there's no way for a man to win. This woman's fear is valid. The young lady in the first video, at 28, has never had a boyfriend or a partner. She thinks she's running out of time, and of course, she's afraid. She'll undoubtedly envy women who have what she desires. She's aware that her friends are getting married, and she won't have the same time as before, making her social circle smaller. She understands she has family goals to achieve. When you consider all of this, it's clear she'll get depressed and feel fear because she's approaching the wall, and the wall doesn't forgive. But the woman who hit the wall, whose first date was at 32, who managed to have a serious relationship at 36, now spends her days criticizing men just because they didn't date her. She was afraid because she saw many women lose themselves when they were with a man. But why didn't she see that many others found purpose in forming a family with a man, having children? After having children, you can't think individually anymore. You start thinking about the well-being of your kids. That's what the other young woman wants, a bigger purpose than just living for herself, something the woman who hit the wall had to do, not by choice as she wants to portray it, but because no man pursued her until she was 36. How contradictory, brothers.
Life. So what did I do instead? I spent all my 20s and 30s doing the coolest shit ever. Like I did the whole van life, but in a truck, which is kind of like an oversized coffin, for 5 years. But because I did that, traveled all the time, totally nomadic, worked as a whitewater raft guide, that's me, in Wyoming, Washington, New Mexico, and went down some of the coolest rivers and most beautiful places ever. Why? Because a man wasn't distracting me or taking me hostage. I was an outward bound instructor in some of the most beautiful places too. I literally backpacked for a living. And you know what that job did? It taught me I'm a fucking badass. It taught me leadership skills. It taught me to trust myself. It taught me that I'm just as strong as any man. I'd argue way fucking stronger. I taught canoe trips. I did all kinds of cool shit, right? And then I moved to New York City. Why not? Their job started to bore me. And I worked in props and got to have so much fun working crazy long days, not getting paid enough, while also pursuing my creative dream of becoming a writer and storyteller and comedian and blah, 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 which I am now. That's my job. Because a man did not center himself in my life. I did what I wanted to do. I built my life for me. Then when I got bored of New York, I moved to South America for a little bit, worked on a strawberry farm, taught English in Chile for a while, climbed in Patagonia, all of these adventures on my own, but I met cool people. I traveled and did whatever the fuck I want because I didn't have a man centering himself like they do. Somewhere in there, I starred in a National Geographic show as a professional adventure survivor. I also worked to LA and moved there for a while. At 39, I was bored, so I moved to Spain to teach English. And then to France, why not? Built a life for myself here. And then at 42, did this! Like what? Build your life for you and maybe let one worthy join you.
In short, she goes from one place to another because she was bored, had no purpose, and no one cared about her. This woman talks as if she achieved something significant, claiming she became strong, transformed into the man she couldn't attract. Let's be coherent here. She admits men didn't pursue her for dates, so clearly, she had to do something about it. She did all that not because it was her purpose or a goal she set for herself, but because she had no options. She comes to sell us the idea that she made a fabulous life because she married simps at the age of 42, tying the knot with a man younger than her who enjoys dressing as a woman, one of those used as a cover. She didn't have children, didn't have a stable home. In short, she lived like a wanderer until she married a man, a simp belonging to the patriarchy, who gave her a place and stability. What irony, brothers. So, looking at her entire life, if she tells the young girl that her perfect life is to roam without direction instead of having a good man, getting married, having a home, a family, and children, choosing to explore the world and marrying in her 40s with slim chances of having kids, what do you think the young girl would choose, brothers? Despite her attempt to sell a fabulous single life, remember she still suffers because time and the wall are inevitable, and the wall doesn't forgive. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What advice would you give to this young girl? Why do you think that older woman traveled so much? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.